Husband, 42M, forcing me, 39F, to ask parents about my inheritance.
My husband's mom unfortunately passed away due to illness 15 years ago and left him some inheritance. We've been married for 8 years and recently he said he put me as a beneficiary to this inheritance. Then one night he got angry saying it's unfair that I know his inheritance but he doesn't know mine. Well, my parents are very much still kicking, in their 60s. So I don't know my inheritance either. To make our marriage even, he demands that I ask my father for the amount of inheritance I'm expected to get, and also put in writing he's a beneficiary if I died. Do you think this is reasonable or appropriate? I feel like it's very inappropriate to ask my parents about this, especially when they are only in their 60s. What's the best way to approach this?
4 months ago you made a post about him being addicted to cocaine. Gonna bet he spent his entire inheritance on drugs and now want yours so he can do the same.
This is really gross. Please don't ask your parents about this. I think you should tell him to make things even, that he can take you off as his beneficiary and keep his inheritance separate, and you will do the same.
Tell him that until your parents are actually dead, it's their money, and he's probably not getting any of it if he starts demanding it from them now. If he still won't drop it, take this to counseling, because resenting sharing his inheritance with you if he's not guaranteed at least that much versus just making plans based on whatever joint savings you currently have suggests all is not well with this partnership.
Of course is weird. What the hell?
It's disturbing that he's asking this in this way. Your parents' money and what, if anything, they'll be leaving to you is no one's business but theirs. Where's his inheritance now? Is it in a separate account? Is he keeping it untouched in case he dies? Again, it's disturbing that he's this worked up about money that requires at least 3 people to die before he has a hope of getting his hands on it. I strongly recommend you do not share this information with him and that you keep any inheritance completely away from him.
To make our marriage even, he demands that I ask my father for the amount of inheritance I'm expected to get, and also put in writing he's a beneficiary if I died. WTF? Absolutely unhinged. To make our marriage even? What does that mean? My parents are older than yours. My hope and expectation is that they will leave me nothing because they spent it all having a nice life. And there is really no way to know how much you might get. There are so many possible scenarios, including long and expensive illness, market crash, natural disasters, etc.
You can put that in your will without asking your parents, but they can still leave their money to who they want. I work on the rule that other people's money is theirs and they can spend it all before they die or leave it to whomever they want. If I was your parent and you asked how much I was going to leave you and can I make sure your husband gets some if you die, I would want to know why you were asking. I never ask you to inform me of nor make me the beneficiary for your inheritance. If you want our marriage to be even, you can change the beneficiary if that will make you feel comfortable. But in no uncertain terms am I going to ask my very alive and well parents about how much money they plan to leave me when they die. That would be incredibly disrespectful, and I cannot explain to you how disgusted I am that you would suggest I do so. I would rather never get an inheritance if it meant my parents didn't have to die. I know that is unreasonable, but I am not going to entertain such morbid discussion. If something else is going on that you want to discuss in our marriage that has made you feel insecure or unequal in some way, I'm happy to discuss, but otherwise you need to seriously back off of this conversation.
Totally inappropriate to ask. Their money is their money. What they choose to do with it is no one's business. They may live another 30+ years. They may need long-term care, which is costly.
Then one night he got angry saying it's unfair that I know his inheritance but he doesn't know mine. I mean, lots of people have no idea about what they inherit. My mom updated her will recently, and she sat down with my brother and me to figure out the fairest way to go about it. Mainly the flat she owns. Assets are a lot more complicated given no one knows what the future brings. And a retirement home, etc., could eat that up very quickly. Once things were set in stone, I told my husband how the situation looks like. And that was it. Where we live, he's automatically my beneficiary until we have kids. Neither my husband nor I have an idea about his parents' will. Don't think they have even one. Despite having 6 kids and a small business. Please tell him that making demands for an inheritance is a pretty good way to make sure you don't get an inheritance. Your parents would be rightly disgusted by such a blatant grab that devalues who they are in your life is just money. You can make appropriate arrangements for your own assets. Use a will, but they cannot be compelled to give him your inheritance after you have died prior to their deaths. This sounds like a very bad episode of Perry Mason. This sounds like the beginning of an NCIS episode. As someone in my 60s who is healthy and active, I can tell you that if one of my kids asked me how much to expect when I die, I would be angry enough that I might say, nothing, and write them out of my will. Your husband is completely out of line. This is unhinged. Hey mom and dad, once you die, how much you gonna leave me? Oh, this isn't BC I need to know. It's BC my husband wants to make sure things are fair, and he wants to make sure he gets a piece of your estate. See how stupid that sounds? And a few things. 1. If you ask your parents this, you will 100% negatively impact your relationship with them. It's their money. Point 2. This will definitely ruin any relationship they have with your husband. 3. If you do end up asking, which you definitely shouldn't, if they were smart, they'd make sure whatever inheritance you receive is in some sort of trust that would allow payouts. And then donate the rest to charity after you die. Essentially, an FYOU to your greedy husband. My dad would lock that shit down if I had the audacity to ask him this. Please, please, please do not ask your parents this. Your parents can't guarantee anything. They may use all their assets in life on whatever, including care as they age. This is completely unreasonable on his part. I am scared for your parents. Are you 33 and 38 or 42 and 39? Do not ask your parents about your inheritance. It would be gross and likely seriously damage your relationship with them. Yes, he knows his, because they died. Unless your parents are fabulously wealthy, it's likely they don't even know. Yes, they may have a plan, but illness, long-term care, and the unexpected happens. They may or may not have life insurance, etc. Asking would infer that you need to know all of these details right now. And, you don't. Nor does your husband. One or both may live for a long time yet. And depending on circumstances, that may affect what is left. You can certainly do your own wills and make each other your beneficiary. But what your husband is asking is inappropriate and pretty crass. I don't think you are on the same page financially. And that likely needs some discussion. Okay, first off, I'm sorry for his loss of his mom. And I'm utterly confused about why his inheritance is in your name. But have you seen the train wrecks of people that spend money thinking they're getting X amount in an inheritance, only for that amount not to be true? Until your parents pass, that's still their money. Anything can happen between now and then.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.